We'll unmute this. And so you have to put the volume. Kill the volume here. Down here. And we'll get the show started here in just a little bit. This will be the main camera. So we'll bring this up here. Right? A little bit closer. Can you guys hear me? You guys can hear me from up, right? Not with the microphone, right? The microphone isn't on yet? Okay, they'll turn the mic on. Oh, if the audience can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys at home watching? Can you guys hear me? All good? Oh, who can Tori? Once the mic's on, it'll be all right. But we'll get started here in just a little bit, guys. We're getting set up. All right.
Honestly, production guy can switch it. Yeah, great. Check out another thing. No one should like. There's more. Sounds great. You'll be fine. You should literally.
With the mic, it's just one switch. It's just you switch one side, and then you turn it. Like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone has a mic.
Okay. So
There's an extra mic right here.
one goes out. Okay. Can this be like freeze frame?
Yeah, he's gonna turn it to like the logo.
Yeah, because that's fine here. Your logo, like right.
Yeah, it'll we'll switch it.
Okay.
But the fact that you showed up here is important because there's spiritual importance. That's not involved. Yes.
Pittsburgh is beautiful. I listen. There's a pleasant place.
They're downtown.
Yeah,
Like, I
Riverside.
would say, there's nothing there. Land of 10,000. It's Pittsburgh and Seattle.
Yeah.
It's really done a wonderful job. I was just there 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, Pike Market, Pike Cross Market. I'm like, why we don't even have an open area fish market in there? That really showcase that.
Yeah.
Our proximity to the water is because our downtown just it seems sterile. And rich.
Yeah.
In comparison to the places that use nature.
That have multiple sky lasers to make people work and people will from the reps. Yeah.
It's sad. But yeah, it's hard. Like I'm not even
People flies open.
Yeah,
It's a really cool system.
it is. And the people were so.
Yeah. Oh, this was going to try to have something.
Oh, I didn't know that was something. I also found out that the largest Or from Western Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
I know, so they have like display
Sure.
set up at the house. Like you walk into this little hall and you the entire area. I get to see the area and it's a site there. So it is a open border.
Sure.
I have student sharing.
Okay, that's cool.
I was really powerful. I'm fighting for this country. And I'm so big at social like
Yeah.
people think that. I mean that dichotomy is seared into the minds of so many people.
I can.
Just me.
I mean, I had just, yeah, African American, yes, that's the one. That goes to that.
And they had to go back into their communities, living in restaurant.
Yep.
Absolutely. I remember one time I was in Washington, and I lived in Minnesota. I never traveled. And one of my coworkers and I were walking through the park. And we saw all of these homeless black families lined up. And there was a black woman over with a big pot of soup. And they, I mean, just they had, you know, she treated them with such dignity. A lot of them were this.
Yeah.
You know, they had mental health issues in the background. She saw their community, she showed up, she sent them ready to be. It was one of the most powerful acts of compassion.
Yeah.
Because she got nothing out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. The satisfaction of building too is.
But they, you know, Washington, they're ignored. You know,
Yeah.
politics, corporations, but she saw her and said, you know, like somebody from the truth. I just feel like those acts are so like what the person is with monitoring the ice flights and creating visibility.
Yeah.
You know,
They were saying, oh, yeah. Someone was saying, yeah, just moving to them that someone cares. Which had not even occurred to me. So
makes a big difference. Otherwise,
yeah, and right. And then someone else. What a fun thing you've mentioned.
right. 2026 for more. I thought the police was bad, you know, when it was bad, but I was hoping after
I think it has to be possibly be worse than this.
And now at the end of the year, it's okay. I can never say next year is gonna be like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna miss
Words.
I
Wisdom are yours.
absolutely.
You want to hear from apparently so.
Oh, darn fine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This stuff is not good.
It was not my regard.
Like that's the cost of going to the here. Like electric concrete, text out.
And follow instructions. Yeah.
Well, it's not my first time, but I like
I have a million contacts just from an unknown number. No.
They just have me.
I don't know. I
Sometimes I don't want you, this is what you respond. Yeah. You don't chat.
Yeah. See, you 600.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Everyone under that. So many. I got no. I got. We can adjust the lights instead of two. Or the light being right. Yeah. Damage.
Is if you want to put this here. Hey everybody, we're gonna start the show here in just a little bit, couple minutes. Thanks so much for joining. Everybody live at home, thank you so much for being on. We're live here at the main cinema. It's so fun. We'll turn the camera around here so you can see the audience here and the crowd. So they're here. What's going on? Very exciting. We're gonna start the live show in about 2 minutes. All right. Great. Where's my man Rook?
Is this the light that was?
Yeah, do you want to sit down?
It is so profoundly
The
bright.
lights are too bright. Right here?
Yeah.
Maybe that? Is that a little better?
It's getting there.
It's a little better. This would be here.
It is so bright.
It's getting there. Okay. Too bright. And down.
Yeah, so you can keep going on that one. That's too much.
Right here.
That's probably tolerable, maybe.
Okay. Maybe.
The whole, yeah.
Okay.
It's quite bright.
Cool. Yeah, they are bright.
Figuring out the lighting.
Figuring out the lighting situation. Once we get Rook, offense here, right? Yeah, awesome. I love it. Sounds fun. Okay, cool. Let's yeah, I would. That looks great. Yeah, that looks great. And then the microphones are live now?
Yep, yeah, just gotta switch it up.
They show you all the work. That's perfect.
Great. Excited. Have a good show.
Yeah.
You ready? All right, let's do it.
Let's go lights up there.
But it's easier long. All right. Are we right here? Let's go live right here. Yes. At the end, yeah, at the end, yeah. All right. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, and I'm just so grateful. I just want to start out by saying I am so grateful that you are here, that people showed up in the rain. I'm from LA, so people don't do anything in the rain, you know? But so right here, Minnesota is showing us in more than one way how to stand up to fascism, how to take the fight to where it matters, and that this doesn't end with the deaths of Rene Good, the killings of Rene Good and Alex Pretti. That this is a movement that needs to be sustained, and this is the reason why we're here. Thank you guys so much. Part of the reason, and for those of you guys watching at home, part of the reason why we're doing this here is Minnesota has gone through a lot. Minneapolis went through Operation Metro Surge, and at a time they had at least 3,000 federal agents in Minnesota, and effectively they were occupied by law enforcement. And the irony, of course, is that it's supposed to be law enforcement is supposed to keep us safer, right? That's the line that they sell us. That's the narrative that they sell us. And yet, you had 3,000 extra federal agents here, immigration agents here, and you were terrorized, and still lingering pain here today. And I went out for a run, and I found myself, I don't know if it was intentionally or subconsciously, going back to the memorial of where Alex Pretti was gunned down in broad daylight. And it was so evident to me running down West Lake, just how many people are in pain, how many people are hurting. And if you've watched any of our coverage and our reporting over the course of the last year since I left CNN and went on my own, you know that our reporting and our platform isn't about left or right. It's not about Democrat or Republican. What we think, and what I think, I say we because it's really just me and my wife, what I think is a far more pervasive bias in America right now is a bias of elitism. It is a few people making more and more money, and the rest of us are holding the bag. It is zip codes that I think before this year and President Trump 2.0, I think a lot of us accepted that there are certain zip codes in America that get screwed over. Unfortunately, more and more zip codes like yours and mine are being added to that peer group, and that's not okay. You have people running wild with AI. 7 people, it seems, are making more and more money. We have a trillionaire in America. Not anymore? He dropped a little bit? Okay. And people may not understand that Jeff Bezos, who's a billionaire, is closer to the wealth of yours and mine than he is of a one-time trillionaire like Elon Musk. That's the wealth gap. That's the disparity. That Bezos is closer to you and me than he is to someone like Elon Musk. So why are we doing this? There's so much fake shit on the internet. In February, I first heard of the dead internet theory. Have you guys heard about the dead internet theory? For those of you guys who don't know what it means basically as more and more AI, more chatbots, more artificial intelligence, more alternate realities get introduced to our algorithms, a lot of us are going to start to question what is real. And it's not necessarily that we would be falling for the deep fakes or the alternate reality, is that we're going to start questioning what actually happened and not accepting it as the truth. And so in the spirit of this, and more people seeing these AI chatbots and dealing with artificial intelligence, we wanted to create a space. I wanted to create a space for opportunity here for us to talk about it in real life. The remedy and the antidote for what fascism wants, which is isolation, wants us to feel like we're alone, like we don't have anything connecting us to the broader good in this world. And the antidote and remedy to that, I feel, is this right here. It's getting together, shoulder to shoulder, like you guys are in the audience, eyeball to eyeball here, and having conversations with people who don't wait for a moment to happen. They see a moment and they meet it. Our next guest and our first guest here, NVN Live. And before I introduce our next guest, I want to start by thanking our financier to this. We rented out this space. This isn't about making money. Thank you guys, all of you who bought tickets here. But this is really about creating this conversation. But I really should give credit to Andrew Feedy and his wife, Courtney Feedy. Andrew is works at Google, but this is not connected to Google. He came out of his own pocket because he knows the vision here that we're trying to, we're trying to bring to you here. We're trying to bring a conversation that matters. So thank you so much. If we can give a big round of applause to Andrew and Courtney Feedy. Thank you. They're community organizers based in Atlanta, where I'm visiting you here from. And I'm from Northeast LA, but I live in Atlanta for the last 20 years. And I wanted to start with people here on the ground who, again, didn't wait for a moment to happen. They went out there and met the moment. There's no one more prolific in that space than our first guest here, Nekima Levy Armstrong. I'd like to welcome you here to Nick Valencia Live. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. So we'll choose whichever side you want. This side, that side. Let's move the.
Here?
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll turn on your mic here, and we'll start to come closer here. Come over here. Yeah, right here. Hand you this one, and you can put that.
So leave this one back. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so how are you?
All right,
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
What, where can we start with you? I want to start with the latest news that happened with the 15 that were indicted by the feds, the Twin Cities activists who were, in our eyes here, really overcharged. What's the status with them? I think some of them, our crowd here would like to know what the status is with them.
So as many of you know, last week, the federal government came after 15 protesters for their activism during Operation Metro Surge. And they kicked down some people's doors, rammed at least one person's car, and arrested them, which is a part of the spectacle that the Trump administration has created. They want to intimidate people. They want to create fear. And they want people to stay at home and to be silent in the face of the fascism, tyranny, and authoritarianism that the Trump administration is attempting to usher in.
It really does seem, yes, I clap for that. It really does seem like a spectacle, especially when you consider the federal immigration agents who were responsible for the killings of Rene Good and Alex Pretti continue to walk free today, are back on assignment, are back out on the streets terrorizing people. I'd love for you to just speak on that. The irony, I don't even think that that's strong enough of a word, but that the killers, the people that were responsible for the deaths of two people, two of your, the community members, and yet they're free and you have 15 people who are charged.
I think it's absolutely despicable and disgusting, but also on brand for the Trump administration. And the cruelty that they weaponize against people in our community who simply stand up and show up to protect our immigrant neighbors. It is a travesty of justice to have the individuals who killed Rene Good and Alex Pretti roaming around free, as you said, and even protected by the federal government. They were ushered out of Minnesota after killing Alex Pretti in particular. And then after the killing of Rene Good, that particular ICE agent had his home surrounded with federal security to protect him.
Our tax dollars protecting him after he committed one of the most heinous things that you could do. He took the life of another person, and yet you have the tax dollars protecting him outside of his home.
Absolutely, and not just another person. We have to remember that Rene Good was a mother of three children and an artist and a wife and a beloved community member. And the way that she was treated by that ICE agent, not only shot right in the face multiple times, but also he called her the B word as he walked off, didn't try to administer aid. And the violence against women, I think, is another part of what is happening here that's not being called out enough.
Yes.
But it's a huge part of the problem. If you think about how Alex Pretti was killed, it was protecting a woman that federal agents threw to the ground.
It's so important. That's exactly why I wanted you here. You bring this perspective. It's the chingonas, it's the women, the badass women that are on the front lines really leading this movement. You guys know that. It's not just the people that are filming the videos, it's the people that are face to face with the fascist regime, the elements of Trump and President Trump's immigration army that is here. Basically, you've been targeted. You have been a target of the Trump administration. What's that been like to be singled out?
I would say, bring it on. I mean, that's just because after what my ancestors went through, I'm a descendant of enslaved people. And I think about the playbook that was used to brutalize African Americans in this country, to try to strip us of our language and culture and dehumanize us. It's the same playbook that's at work today, targeting our immigrant communities. So it was easy for me to recognize what was happening. I mean, we've spent so many years calling out the injustices with law enforcement and the complacency of members of our government, even the Democrats in particular, when they're in power. You know, they allow the police to brutalize people. They allow the police to kill people and literally get away with murder, you know, just as we've seen from Republican leadership. And so it's a battle that we have fought for many, many years, just to even raise awareness to the average person who trusts the police, to understand that you have to look at their stories with more scrutiny. We have to look at our laws and change them when they literally allow people to get away with murder. And we have to hold elected officials accountable. So whether it's our local police departments or it's ICE, it's the same playbook in terms of our advocacy and the formula that's being used to oppress people. And so that's why several of us as Black organizers got involved in this fight, in demanding justice for Rene Good and Alex Pretti, and reminding the public that even if the federal government won't cooperate and won't share information with local law enforcement and the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, our local elected officials in criminal justice and in government still have a responsibility to prosecute those MFers. Period. They cannot hide behind the fact that, oh, they're federal. I mean, that is an excuse from my perspective. How do you, they would have, if any of us did what they did, we would have been under the jail. So how do we justify allowing them to get away with murder and claim that the bureaucracy is a part of the problem? So we called that out. We said, no. First of all, why are you even trying to cooperate with the federal government when you know that they're liars? They're manipulators. Think about what they said after Rene Good was killed, calling her a domestic terrorist.
And it's often the narrative that we hear from DHS to the feds is not one that we actually see happen with our own eyes. And they tell us not to believe our own eyes because nothing is straightforward in the Trump administration. I'm so grateful that you brought up that it's not just going to end with President Trump. The most heavy hand that I've seen across the country, and I've spent the last 14 months traveling the country, has been in cities run by Democratic governors or Democratic mayors. You have the LAPD, Karen Bass, the governor there, Gavin Newsom, both Democrats. Here in Minnesota, after the killing of Alex Pretti, you had the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office bring out an LRAD, a long-range acoustic device, which could cause neurological damage. I saw it with my cameras because I was behind their lines. Democratic leadership here, Tim Walz. You had Jacob Fry here, who spent more time on TV than he did out in the streets, like you.
And dropping F-bombs that he couldn't back up.
And you
Because
also
if
first
we
here.
drop the F-bomb, we're gonna back it up.
You can say fucking shit on here and on independent media. That's a beauty here. But you were really quintessential in keeping the moment and the momentum alive. I should land the point on this last thought, though. Delaney Hall, also, we saw what happened with Governor Sherrill.
In New
New Jersey State Police. I'm in a process of filing a complaint against them because they violated, just like here, my constitutional press rights and freedom that we all have. You were quintessential in keeping this movement alive. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the church, going into the church, the Righteous 39. In passing out flyers here yesterday, there was somebody who supported you. They're a supporter of what you did. They, though, having said that, being rigorously honest, thought that it was a step too far when people went into the church. They said that is a sacred place. This isn't to bait you because I hear that and I think, well, what about all the pastors and preachers who have done wrong or molested children? Was it not God's house then when they were doing that, right? This is the house of God. It is the house of people. But if we're being rigorously honest, there are people that do, your supporters, who still think that it was a step too far. This is not to bait you, but to hear in your own words. What's your defense to them? What would you like to say to them?
I would say if you're my supporter, then you're gonna understand why I did what I did. I don't have time or tolerance for fair weather supporters, because you can sit at home on the couch and watch television as we're out on the front lines and judge, but will you take a stand for the least of these? That is what the gospel requires us to do. I am not only a civil rights attorney, I am an ordained reverend and a preacher. I have been a preacher since 2007. I have been an ordained reverend since 2016, and I taught at a Catholic law school here at the University of St. Thomas Law School for 13 years, connecting faith and the law and how I taught my students to take on the system. So they have to understand this isn't just me going out and doing something as a woman of faith. I get my instructions from the Almighty God. And we needed to take a stand in that moment, because how can you claim to be a church of God, but you are harboring not an ICE agent, but the ICE director, the regional ICE director, David Easterwood, who oversaw the brutality and the harm and the violence and even the killings that happened. Yet you're a preacher at a local church? The math ain't mathing. Somebody make it make sense. It's not in alignment with the truth of the word. The word has plenty of examples. Even Jesus went into the temple, flipped over the tables of the money changers and said, "This is my Father's house." So God showed us, Jesus showed us the example of what we are to do, which is to use our voices and to take a stand. And just because a place claims to be holy doesn't mean that it's operating under those genuine standards.
Man. That part, right? Say that. I just was in the Rio Grande Valley because there's a shift happening. I was interviewing Bobby Polito, who's running for Congress, and you're seeing the shift of Latinos who voted for Trump. People who think that their proximity to whiteness is going to save them. And I was invited into a church to pray with and worship with some of the supporters of his opposition. I went in full disclosure. I mean, I talk about this more because I see Republicans co-opting God. They corner the market on religion. I believe in Jesus Christ. We're talking about faith, and this is not to proselytize, but I went in there and I heard a message. And I walked out and they asked me, "So which side are you on?" I said, "Well, I'm a journalist." They said, "Oh, you must be neutral." No, there is no such thing as objectivity in journalism. There's fairness, and that's my metric. And so I told them, I was just in here with you and I heard a message, but we didn't get the same message. My Jesus Christ leads with love and tolerance. My Jesus Christ would be walking with the migrants, with the prostitutes, with the lesser than, the underprivileged and underserved. He would be out there supporting people like you and me on the front lines, because it is not popular to take this stance.
Right.
It is not popular to basically deny there's money out there, people that want it fun, but is it all good? No. Could I go back to the mainstream and be part of that show and circus? Sure. Do I want to? No, because solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. Only the people save each other.
Absolutely.
I want to know why that message resonates with you. I mean, you said yes to this invitation. I'm so grateful. Nekima is a superstar. We were so grateful to get her there. But we believe that. You believe que solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. We're bridging a gap too, and a divide in our communities. I want to hear more about that from you and why you think only the people will save each other.
Well, I grew up in a Black and Mexican community in South Central Los Angeles. So I lived side by side with Mexican neighbors, people who spoke Spanish. We went to school together. And so that was a part of my upbringing, to understand the value of each and every person. And the fact that we all are a part of the human family, no matter how the mainstream may try to divide us. And so going in with that understanding meant that I could not remain silent or think, oh, like some people said, hey, we're going to sit this one out, especially folks who had fought, for many years for police accountability and didn't feel the level of solidarity that there should have been, amongst some in our community. They said, we're going to sit this one out. We're tired of fighting. But for me, I had a moral obligation to not only not sit this one out, but to stand up. Right? Absolutely. And when you think about the folks who claim going into a church is a bridge too far, why haven't they spoken up about the Trump administration allowing ICE agents to go into churches, allowing them to stage outside of church parking lots, making it an intimidating environment for our immigrant community to even worship the God that they serve? So I don't have time for the hypocrisy. If you're going to call out us having a peaceful demonstration in a church and calling out the regional director of ICE, who did not protect our constitutional rights, he was named in a court case just a couple days before we went into City Church, and he said that he hadn't seen any evidence of constitutional violations. And he said, as a matter of fact, protesters were the problem.
We're living in two Americas.
Absolutely. So you have that on the one hand, and then you have the memo by the Trump administration allowing ICE agents to enter a church. But remember, these same people claiming, oh, I support Nekima, it's a bridge too far. Why are you silent in the face of what the Trump administration is doing and blocking people from their right to worship? So it's hypocrisy. A lot of times it's white privilege, it's white comfort. I've had to call out some white progressive and liberal pastors, who are trying to side with City's Church and not using their voices to stand up for the truth of the gospel. It's like, which God are you serving? Because it's certainly not the one that I call Lord, Lord.
Their God starts with a T and ends with a rump. I think that's what they think.
Absolutely.
That just seems to be a loyalty test just for the president. That's what it seems.
And how often has he mocked Christianity? Right? So many times, and they're silent on those things. But what I remind people of is what Dr. King said in his 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail. He said, we're not worried about the Ku Klux Klanners and the White Citizens Council.
Yeah.
We are worried about the good people, right? The white moderates, those who are silent, those who are standing in the way of progress, those who are saying, wait, those who are saying with the passage of time, things will change. He said they've been the greatest impediment to the progress of Black liberation. Things haven't changed that much since he wrote that 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail.
And you just shared something on your story. It's just about how long segregation was, how long slavery was, how long ago segregation was, and the time that we live in now. It is not that long ago. You've been so gracious with your time. We want to get to our next guest because we want to talk about the fear of people showing up here. That is a concern. Look, the Uber driver that took me from the airport to my hotel, he was detained for 10 months. I convinced him by the time he dropped me off here that he was going to show up here. I'm not sure if he's in the audience, but I'd love to think that he is. But he was saying, hey, look, I'll tell you, Somalis, we're scared of showing up. There's still that healthy, lingering fear. And I'm going to get into that with Ahmed Bin Hassan, who's joining us here next. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to know, or anything that you would like to say? You'll come back up here at the end of the Q&A, but anything you'd like to say, now's your chance.
I just want to say thank you to all the people in the community who have been supportive of me and so many others who have put our lives and our bodies on the line to stand up for freedom, justice, and equality. We need your support. We need to know that we are not alone in taking on this battle, and all of us need to be 10 toes down in our beliefs because our democracy is at stake. If not now, then when? If not us, then who? Thank you.
Nekima Levy Armstrong, God bless you. Thank you. That was amazing.
Another applause, please, for Nekima Levy Armstrong. Thank you guys all for watching at home. What a dynamic force of nature. She has literally been a quintessential voice here. When the 15 activists were arrested last week, one of the first people that I saw online out there front and center, we should not be surprised, was Nekima. We want to pivot now to our next guest, and it was really important for me to get him here on the stage. You guys know this. A lot of this started with Nick Shirley and these fraud claims, right? And do you want to know something? There is a suspicion among us independent journalists in this ecosystem. There's some suspicion about who's paying Nick Shirley. Think about it. Think about how he came with his viral report. The White House immediately spread the information. They immediately put it out there. And it was almost like he was the best journalist in America, according to Stephen Miller and others in the Trump administration and part of his cabinet. Why? Why is Nick Shirley all of a sudden jumping to the apex of journalism with a report that was already debunked. But there was morsels of truth in it enough for people to glob onto, and what happened next? I don't need to tell you. 3,000 people showed up here as part of an Operation Metro Surge targeting the Somali community. I want to invite up here next to the stage Ahmed Bin Hassan, who's become a symbol of the resistance movement, from Uber driver to symbol of the movement here. Ahmed, come on up here. This side, that side. Okay, cool. Yes, yes. It was so important, and I guess I'm going to start there. The fear in the community, that's real.
I mean, the fear is real, and the fear is, it's kind of like you don't plan to be afraid, you know? You're just afraid because some terror appears. So the people in the Somali community, some of them, they're not really afraid to like physically get killed, you know? They're just trying to prevent further losses, you know? So for somebody like me, when I went viral, you know, Uber viral, millions and millions of people.
You went really viral, like not just Uber viral.
You know, so I didn't like volunteer for that. It's not like I said, today I'm gonna be everywhere on the internet, you know. It just happened to be I was going about my everyday activities, and then the system used weaponized federal agencies to profile me and pinpoint me exactly to where I'm at and come and approach me and tell me, listen, we have identified you're not one of us. I didn't even say a word. Already they had identified I wasn't one of them.
Just you were sitting in your car,
I was
doing nothing, you were waiting for a ride.
I was just everyday Uber life, you know, ride-share driver, you know. You just get a call, you know, the same way you order on the app as a rider, is the same way we get a call on that side, just for us to better man. So I was just in queue, so this car started telling me, the app was telling me 10 to 1. Then eventually it was 1 to 5. So once you get to the 1 to 5 area as a rideshare driver, you are on standby. As soon as you get a ding, you know it's accepted, you have a customer, you gotta go, you take off, because they're timing you as far as, they grade you like a child, these rideshare apps, you know. So we have to drive fast, obey the law, and I'm not gonna get a ticket, go pick up the customer, be polite, good customer service, you know, take it to wherever he's going. But instead of doing that, I was asked for my documentation, you know, by federal agents, and they were masked. So imagine hiding yourself and then telling the other party, I need to identify you. Oh, who are you? And while you're hiding, like, you feel me, like, it's just so abnormal, like, you're scared for me, and you have all the weapons on you. Like, come on now, this is bigotry, it's not.
One of the things that stood out to me, it's beyond bigotry, is racism, absolutely. Racial profile. These are called Kavanaugh stops. I mean, I think it was before they got a name that it happened to you. But I want to give Ahmed his flowers here. If we could just pause. A lot of people, they talk a lot of shit and they say, hey, when this happens to me, I'm going to do this. And if I was there, I would have done this and said that. This man was sitting in his car working, and fascism came to his car door. And not only did he hold his ground, not only did he fight fascism and win, but he did it in an eloquent way. In a time and in a moment when I'm just describing it and I'm talking faster, and yet you were able to be composed, poised, and eloquent enough not just to make your point, but to defeat theirs. That is incredible to do that as a human being in real time. How were you able to achieve that? How did you do that?
I mean, I'm just gonna reveal more stuff about me, I guess, you know. Hopefully somebody reaches out and we get a book deal in place. What I'm trying to do here is, when they approached me, obviously they sent a lady. I don't know if they had the details correct to know that there's a lady that's required to like get that out of me. I don't know. But either way, they approached me, they sent the lady, and then the lady, she was kind of standoffish, just trying to show her authority. I did some security jobs, so I know when you were trying to take control of the situation or the escalate. So she held that door to my car. She held the door so that if I yanked it, now I'm resisting whatever arrest, you know, and now they can just jump on me and basically unalive me. So I knew that was the goal. So I proceeded to like toy with her based on her outfit, you know. Obviously women are very keen about their outfit, you know. I said, lady, you got a helmet, where's the motorcycle? You must be doing some stunts, you guys didn't catch that. Well, that wasn't on camera because I wanted to see whether she's quick to draw. So she didn't respond to that and she kind of, well, what do you mean? I'm like, you got a helmet, you got a GoPro. You say you're law enforcement, where's your body camera? She's like, what do you know about GoPros? You're African, you should know these details. Well, you don't know much about me. I'm actually technically trained as an engineer. And I would like to go into my past a little bit to describe some of the struggles that made me who I am. So some of the struggles is like, I went to the University of Minnesota, fresh from Africa. I was here for 1 year. So I went through culture shock because obviously I didn't have any community here, I didn't have any friends here. So that worked numbers on me mentally and affected my academic performance. And the University of Minnesota eventually kicked me out, expelled me. So getting that news at the age of like 21, 22, and you had ambitions of higher education, it would destroy you. You feel the pressure of like losing a loved one almost. So I had to like get back to myself and say, hey, are you going to let these people that don't really know you determine your ambitions and your goals? Or are you going to figure it out for yourself and get to the end goal? Eventually, 10 years later, I got to the end goal, Nick. I became an engineer. But there were other challenges like people like me face because once you be a hiring manager, they don't see you as a good fit, not technical wise. You know what I mean?
The name does it for
The
them.
name,
The accent. The darker your skin
that-
is in this world, the more difficult you have it. And then you were, out there on the streets in a time where it's almost they were just looking at the color of your skin.
Yeah, so I got self-employed after I didn't get a job as an engineer, and I was on the highways a lot. So this is a job that took me 4 weeks to get certified in. I went to trucking school and got the city, and then I was on the highway. So I'm dealing with all types of Americans. And I like to call them American KKK somewhere because the Americans are my fans. Those are the people that showed me actual genuine support. As soon as the video was out, the comment section, I couldn't keep up with it. It's just numbers and people are saying, thank you, we love you from China, from New York, from Europe, from.
I'm sure you had a big following right here in Minneapolis. The people of Minnesota stepped up in a big way, and they love to see one of their own fighting back.
Thank you guys, but as the theme of this discussion here is today, thank you first of all, Nick, for giving us this platform to actually engage and heal the community, because I feel like if you have discussions about very serious, difficult problems, you'll be able to understand the boundaries of the problem and then eventually develop a solution that's keen to that problem, that solves that problem. And other human beings outside of Minnesota or that community that's solving that problem might be able to utilize that solution in the future. So
We saw that picked up, the blueprint, the example that was set here during Metro Surge from the activists and people like you that were on the front line. I saw people from Minnesota and Delaney Hall, which we're going to talk about a little later on with our last guest, Andrew Mercado. Talk to me about that community, though. What is it about Minnesota, people like you, that you could, I know this is the land of Wellstone and there's great progressive activism here, but talk to me about the people of Minnesota.
So 6 months, so the incident happened January 7th. So that's 6 months ago, almost 100 and, 180 days, if my math is correct, over 180 days. And what happened is actually not what I expected, because obviously I got exposed for being able to be eloquent, expressing my oppression in ways most people didn't think I was qualified to do. But hey, either way I did it, I had to do it. Because growing up as a refugee in Africa, we left our home country where all the Somalians originated from. We left that place because there was so much tension, killing, murder, hostility. It was violent. It wasn't conducive for anybody that had hopes of living in a normal household. So my parents relocated us to Kenya. So when I went to Kenya, now I'm in a different place where people look different than me. So the Kenyans, shout out to the homie over there, he showed me the Kenyan bag. So when I was in Kenya, the Kenyan police, they underpaid. The African police left by the colonialists in the 60s from the United Kingdom. So they're underpaid. So for them to supplement their income, when they see somebody that looks different than them, they kind of approach him directly, ask him, they'll dehumanize, ask him for his paperwork. And even if he shows them the paperwork, they still find some other thing to capture. They literally capture, they'll handcuff themselves to that person So I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to witness this growing up in Africa. So when I came here, and now I'm the one getting asked for those documents, and I know my shit is legit. I was like, you have to kill me for this, because I wasn't happy when it was getting done to my parents, you know? And now I'm alive. This is not a dream. This is reality. It's happening to me. And the world is witnessing. Thank God the world's in it, because that way of dehumanizing a person is messed up, because it works numbers to those that witness too. Like, one of us, anytime we wear a police uniform, we come asking for your documentation. So that's what I was doing. They were profiling, targeting. And then institutions came about after that and gave me awards for my courage. So that is where I really felt slightly depressed, because I'm like, these institutions, they're honoring me, and they're showing me all this love. But then when I really paid attention, I was like, is this about me?
Oh, there we go.
I guess I spoke. I was like, is this about me, or is this really about the cause that I stood up for? Because if it's about me, it's personal. I don't need anybody's money. I don't need anybody's support. It's just my personal hobby, right? But what I stood up for is much bigger than me. It's people of color that have been continually subjugated and dehumanized from the inception of this nation. So this nation has made amends. This nation has made amends and has tried to bring a transformation to kind of let go of its ugly past. But of late, that transformational process has been altered, where now there's a nostalgia for the past, the evil wicked past. That's why I said, are we in Germany? I meant Germany in 1938, because America, as we know it, it's the place where people come to discover people. There's a woman from Afghanistan that said, I had never seen a white person or a black person until I came to America. So now, with the whole world knowing America is for everybody, provided you do it legally, there's men, white men, the men that were there, we the people, the men that were there when they were writing, we the people, hold these truths, right?
Yeah.
So those men, they were all white. So I feel like they miss their past, even though the reality changed. We the people today is everybody, every color.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it has to be so aggravating to see the Somali community here disproportionately singled out. Have you come to a conclusion as to why? I mean, I know I threw out Nick Shirley and his fraud report that has something to do with it, I believe. Why do you think the Somali community was targeted here by Metro Search?
The Somali community was targeted because they're easy prey. They have leadership that Ilhan Omar, she reached out to me. They're legit, she's an awesome person, but she's just one. So, and then this mad imbecile in the White House has been attacking her on the day, people voted for him to do that. Come on, you have other jobs to do. Your job is not to shit talk Ilhan every time you mess up your shit,
It's a 101 here. I love
Yeah,
it.
so to finish that, it's my community has basically gone through a lot that Americans don't know. We suffered and witnessed some of the most horrific stuff you guys witnessed in horror movies. In reality, then we came here and we were resettled. We were hoping we were gonna forget about it and live a normal life, like what you guys run away from, that 9 to 5. Picking up your kids from the bus stop.
That's exciting to the immigrant, right? The schools here, which we complain about, the 9 to 5, the normal stuff.
Nick, I swear, I'll correct you on this. That's not exciting to me. No, but I don't look forward to 9 to 5. I've been into it, but it's exciting to somebody who that has been taken away from. They feel normal again because they're back to a normal society where peace prevails. But in reality, most people don't have liberty. Because why did you arrest the activists then? If people have liberty, why did you arrest those activists that had the courage to come and stand out and raise awareness about the oppression? What's the point?
Because they decided to broaden the definition of what it is to interfere in a federal investigation. They decided to make the rules up as they went along and say, these are the rules for you, but not for me.
So the way I'm seeing what's happening around me, I'm apolitical. I'm not a Democrat. I'm sorry, Democrats. You guys thought I was one of you guys. I'm not. And I have my reasons for that. Republicans, I'm definitely not one of you guys. For sure, I'm not one of you guys. I swear to God. So who am I? I'm an American citizen.
Yes.
I'm a man. I'm a father. I'm a Muslim. I'm an engineer. I'm a businessman. And nobody in this room or outside of this room can take that away from me.
I wish you could see the look in his eyes, because I believe him. I mean, I know you believe his words, but just, the passion there. In just the few moments we have left, this is not over here. This is not over at all. The operation ended. People think that it's just, okay, wrapped up, on to the next city. No, people are still being taken on the streets. To land the plane on this conversation, there's a lot of people who wanted to be here to support you who are not here because they're scared, man. That's fascism.
We can fight that. It's just that the people that are claiming to fight that sort of figure the people that are claiming to fight on our behalf, first of all, International Institute of Minnesota, fuck you. I have to say that. Why? You honored me and gave me an award. I swear to God, I was about to bring that award here today so that we can all trash it. They gave me an award. And as soon as they got the fundraising gala and they collected their money, they don't have the common decency to even respond to my messages when I use them as a resource to help others. And they're saying they're for immigrants. I hate to do this on a public platform.
No,
The mayor of this city is for. Jack O'Fray, fuck you too. The governor of the city, fuck you too. Why? Because they attacked you. You wanted to be vice president. The opposition attacked you. You gave up. You said you're not running again. And guess what? You also gave us up. They come and arrested us left and right. Kash Patel from the FBI, he's the director. They wrote a book and nobody ever read it. That's why they said that. And now he's in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Kash Patel. Maybe we should focus on competency. I'm just saying, maybe.
I think, and this is the kind of message that needs to be delivered, because I think if Democrats ran more people that were less full of shit, they would run the table. But it seems as though the same elites are part of the same party, right?
They exposed us. They exposed us to these weaponized federal agencies. It's the FBI, it's the Homeland Security, it's the Customs and Border Patrol, it's ICE. God knows how many other agencies are going to be weaponized against us. But one thing is for sure, I, for one, they will have to kill me, man, for me to change how I feel about it. If you're wearing a mask and a badge from Customs and Border Patrol, or you're wearing a white hood, you still a racist. I still see the BS, and you gotta come clean. If you, like the way I told those guys, one of them, and I appreciate any person that ever donated a dime towards me, truly.
Amen. Amen.
But at the same time, none you guys would have ever known about me going to college and having 80,000 plus in student loans had I not told that city Customs Border Patrol officer that I was trying to be nice at the end when I grilled all of them. Because he was like, well, we could really talk to them. And I was like, man, I could talk to you like a normal person if you stop this character, because he was playing a character, He was not antagonizing me. Can't you read? Oh, come on, dude. Like, how do I pick up customers if I can't read their names? Like, when do you ask you to be?
All they heard was the accent. That's all they saw.
I said, well, Melania, she made that. She's a fella, I guess, If we go by accent, she's a mass murderer. She's a genocide of people. Because accents are fine, right? So if they're going off of that, it's childish, guys.
Oh, God, I'm so
Everybody
grateful
had
you're
an accent.
here.
Your mom had an accent. Your grand had. All of us, no matter what the race is, accents show us our culture, our heritage, what's cool about us. You feel me?
Yeah, amen. Before we get to our next guest, Nick Benson, who's just been so instrumental in helping us track all the deportations and the data that comes with the flights, is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to know, or anything that you would like our audience to know here?
Two things. First is gratitude. an attitude or a high altitude is an attitude of gratitude. And I'm very grateful to all of you guys because I'm definitely known before, and that was not my intention. You feel me? I never had an album out, I never had any episodes out, I swear to God. And I'm grateful to you guys because you see I did something noble. And when you guys honor me, I will never throw that award away. It does because it's not based on you guys funding my causes as far as supporting the community. It's not based on that. It's based on a human being realizing somebody else was there to stand up because they're not present. You feel me? So I'm very, very glad about you guys. And the other thing, I know I'm over time, but I got to say this. The reason I said F you to the governor and to the mayor is, and also F you Uber and Lyft and others. So the reason I said F you to all of these people is, I was ready to like get my accountability. You know, whatever oppression was done on me, I was ready to step up, seek the legal justice system, and get my justice, have my day in court in front of a judge. Nobody, the man never reached out 6 months later. The governor never reached out. You know who reached out? MOOV. That's an alternative rideshare provider that cared. Uber and Lyft that I drove for, matter of fact, set me up in a way that they end up claiming I owe money to Hertz for a rental car that I paid for, that I was trespassed from picking up at the rental agency twice. They involved St. Paul police to enforce their policies on me twice. So now when I provide the because I'm still providing the Ubering, you know, I found a resource, so I'm using my mobility. I'm still picking up people because I still want to take all these culprits to court. But the mayor, the governor, all the structure as far as leadership we have in town, they all came for the photo ops. Nobody came to support the cause.
That's right.
And my sister Nekima, that woman right there is a professor of law. She knows the law. I guarantee you more than one theory and that's what it's going. So what she's saying, she's not doing it for any other reason. She's doing it because she's here and that's how she feels the law should be applied. She's a professor of law. And if we don't listen to knowledgeable people, we're going to start listening to imbeciles with people minds like Trump and stuff.
We should listen more to Ahmed Bin Hassan. Ahmed Bin Hassan, thank you so much for taking the time with Nick Valencia live. Oh, God bless you, bro. Let me give you a hug here. Let me do better. Thank you so much.
And anytime you need me out here,
God bless you, bro.
just them for sure.
He talks so much with Mike cut out. I love that. That's hilarious. Ahmed Bin Hassan, man, what a voice, what a person, what a symbol of the movement. He didn't even plug the Defender Project, which he's part of now. Go check out his social media. We posted all about him. We turn now to our next guest, who is somebody who has a spot in my heart. I'm married to an epidemiologist, a data nerd, and this guy here, he's been tracking all the flights using data. Nick Benson with the 50-51 movement. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for taking the time. Nick Benson, how are you, man?
I am terrified. I feel like I'm up here with a kazoo, following James Brown and Stevie Wonder.
And the lights are hot.
The lights are really hot.
They're
So
bright. We tried to turn them down. Nick, God, I have to say, he comforted me here. If you guys showed up earlier, I was having a moment. I was a little nervous. I did a little Eminem here and puked before, and Nick was just like helping me fan me down and just saying kind things to me here. So I appreciate you.
we all made it through. That's good.
Yeah, we all made it through. You have been helping us make it through by watching the flight deportations. I first learned about you from my friend, Jared Zizzer, who did a profile piece on you during the wintertime. You're out there, -12, -14 degree weather. How did that all start? Where did it start?
So I'm a big airplane dork. I like watching airplanes. In the normal times, I would be hanging out at the airport and hoping to see a cool airplane coming or going. It scratches an itch for me for some reason.
Sure.
Anyway, I was hanging out at the airport a lot and noticed in April of 2025 that the ICE air flights that were a regular fixture here for years, they weren't showing up on the schedule anymore. The government was taking steps to hide the.
One day you were there, the next day you were gone.
Yeah, they were taking steps to hide the airplanes. They were using the same program that Elon and Taylor Swift used to hide their jets. The fleet of the contractors doing ice air stuff had done the same thing. So, if the government doesn't want you to look at something,
The spidey senses go off.
yeah, so,
Data nerds.
yeah, take a closer look. So I started paying attention, realized, there were the Supreme Court cases where they were telling them to bring people back and the administration wasn't listening. That was all very interesting. That was in the spring. I went out and took pictures of it once. I posted about it on Reddit, and I still kind of paid attention, but wasn't really doing anything about it.
What was the watershed moment? When did it take off? When people really started paying attention?
In September, I was at an airplane nerd meetup, as one goes to, and I was talking to one of the another person there, Seth Miller. He's another activist. He was running the Avel No campaign. Avelo Airlines is another small airline that was operating flights for ICE. And I just said, Seth, I really appreciate that you're using your voice in a courageous way like this. I wish I could do that. And he said, Nick, you can do that. Like, it's not that hard, just do it. And I was like, okay. And so I did. He pushed the little snowball down the big hill, and here we are.
There's a moment to meet, and you're meeting the moment. That's the theme and the common thread with all the guests up here. It takes a lot, I'm sure, and the things that you've seen, others have not. Talk to us about some of the people that you've seen on these flights.
Sure. So when I'm out watching these flights, generally we're in a parking ramp that's about 2/3 of a mile away. We've got pretty powerful cameras that we're zooming in so we can see what's going on. And as we all know, because we were all here going through this together, they're just picking people up off of the street, just plucking people right out of whatever their daily reality was.
In some cases, the people that just aren't fast enough to get away.
Yeah, so we saw someone who was still in their Amazon delivery driver uniform. We saw a person in a wheelchair. We saw little old ladies with their short little old lady haircuts and their pink parkas. I saw someone getting on the airplane the other day that didn't have the shackles on. It turns out that's probably because they were pregnant. We've seen people who were lots of men wearing their bright green and orange jackets with logos on the back, probably construction workers, people in pajamas, people in nice clothes like they just been at court perhaps. So it's just a whole, people in a messy jersey, just like one my son has, that he had a raw spot when I saw that.
This is the worst of the worst. These are the violent criminals that Trump is claiming. And we know more than 70% of those who are currently in ICE detention they have no criminal record. It's really equivalent to a civil offense crossing the border. I really don't understand that. A long time ago, somebody says this is the line. If you cross it, all of a sudden you're an illegal. When no one is illegal, no human being is illegal. When you see your friends, your family members, people that look or remind you of your loved one, I mean, you have to be like this, shouting from the rooftops. How do you get your message out? How do you make sure that it gets amplified so that people are paying attention to what's going on? Because this is crazy. I mean, you're talking about somebody in their short hair, pink hair, somebody that's pregnant when it's a matter of policy before Trump, sort of a gentleman's agreement that you wouldn't take people like that into custody. And then here we are.
Yeah, it's terrible. When I've been talking about this, sometimes, you look at the comments section, which you're not supposed to do, but we all do anyway. You'll see people that are talking about, they're going back home. And I take exception to that. It's exactly the opposite of that. They are being taken from their home here in Minnesota. You talked about one of those cold days in January or December, 10, 15 degrees. And I saw a gentleman out there and he was being led up the airplane in chains, but he was wearing shorts. And if that doesn't tell you that that's one of your fellow Minnesotans getting on that airplane, I don't know what will. And so that was a moment, again, that stood out to me that, there are neighbors, and the fact that so many people are just comfortable letting it happen was so profoundly frustrating. And I've been doing whatever I can. Apparently, I'm good at yapping.
That's what you're here for.
Yeah, so I've been yapping as much as I can to whoever will listen. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate that.
When I went inside the elementary school of Liam Ramos earlier this year, I was invited in to Valley View. And when I walked in, the first thing that stood out to me, because I have PTS and PTSD, just had a terrible episode with it after leaving Delaney Hall. I noticed the look of PTS and trauma in the eyes of the teachers and the principal. It was at that moment that I realized it's not just the people that we see in those shaky cell phone videos that get taken into custody that are feeling the impacts. When I walked into the room, and I'm going to be able to do this without crying, but one of the hardest things for me doing this work is protecting the innocence of my children. That my 8-year-old daughter, after what happened to me here in January, she knows that daddy's job is a little dangerous. I've got my live ballistic vest over there. And what stuck out to me being in that classroom is that those parents of the classmates of Liam, those classmates realize that his locker is empty, even if some of his stuff in there, and they've got to go back home. And they got to tell their kids and talk to their kids about this. You're a father, I want to start there, and then I want to talk about Liam, because if you guys don't know this about Nick Benson, we wouldn't know that Liam Conejo Ramos was transferred on a Delta flight. They'll take credit for bringing him home, but it's because of this guy right here that the rigorous truth was put out there. I want to ask you as a father, how do you protect the innocence of your children? And then I want to talk to you a little bit more about Liam Conejo Ramos.
It's pretty tough. I've got had kids in elementary, middle, and high school. I only have the 3, but they're spaced that way. And it's tough because they'll say, you know, I have the advantage of being self-employed with a flexible schedule, so I can devote a lot of time and effort to this. And they'll say, well, what can we do about this? And that's hard. You just have to keep going to school and get decent grades. We did a dash cam drive, so that was fortunate for my kids because they got really good at opening up the little SanDisk memory cards and putting them in a dash cam. We had 1,500 dash cams come through my kitchen. And so the kids got to help out with that. But I mean, it's tough. If you're a kid, you want to be able to do something. And I mean, that's a problem I think a lot of just normal adults struggle with too. Is what do we,
some of you guys here because you care that much to be here.
yeah, what can you do to help? And that's a tough question to answer because we all have time demands. A lot of us have jobs and bosses, and you know, we can't just drop everything to go out and do whatever. So it's, I don't know, it's tough. I've been struggling a lot with the question of, you know, someone will hear my spiel about ice, air, or whatever. And then the inevitable question is, okay, but what can I do about that? And I don't have a good answer for that. That's really tough. So I've been thinking about that a lot, and I don't have a good answer for that yet.
Sometimes I think that what we're doing here in the short term is for history's sake. I heard you talking here about the Nuremberg trials, and it was 15 years after World War II ended and the Holocaust ended that some people finally saw some justice. And sometimes I think, look, I'm doing this in the short term because as a journalist, I need to create a record. It might be incredibly unpopular going into a church, but guess what? The world found out what was going on, right? It might not be today that you will support us or that change happens, but what we do today affects tomorrow. Today it's me, tomorrow it's you. And, you know, to give you your flowers, man, there's no superhero coming to save us. I think all of us in this room realize at a certain point in this life, there's no fucking superhero coming to save us. But you, with the dash cams and that story, all I'm thinking is like, you're Spider-Man, you're Batman, you're the superhero that your kids are looking up to right now. That's what you're doing, I think. That's what you're doing.
Well, thank you. That's pretty nice of you to say. Thank you.
I mean it. And it's a segue to the Spider-Man backpack, man, and the
Oh, okay.
right? And Liam, and you know,
Okay, so we have to predicate this. Is my microphone working?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to predicate this with the fact that the reason we know about Liam is because of the Columbia Heights school system and the fact that they were one of the few public institutions that was willing to publicly acknowledge reality during Metro Surge. And so they deserve every ounce of kudos they've ever gotten.
shout out to the teachers and true superheroes, right?
Absolutely. I've met several people that were involved in the decision-making in telling Liam's story. So credit where credit is due there. That was just speaking truth was heroic there. So anyway, Liam was taken. We all saw the pictures of him in his hat. The school district and the lawyer gave a very detailed press conference giving a timeline of what had happened, how Liam and his father were sent to the Dilley Family Detention Center. I saw some reporting. At this point, I've watched something 80 maybe of these flights, more 2,500 people, lots of people getting on the ICE Air flights. When we're seeing those and sharing that video, there aren't ever kids involved in that process. These are all adults getting on the plane. So I thought, well, how did Liam get to Texas? He wasn't on one of those ICE Air flights. Minnesota Public Radio News had a story. They said that kids fly commercial when they get sent to an ICE concentration camp. And so I thought, if I'm a federal agent and I'm sending a kid to a concentration camp in Texas, how would I do that? And we had the detailed timeline from the Columbia Heights School District and the lawyer. I looked, and on the day that happened, San Antonio is the major airport that's near Dilley, Texas. In Minneapolis, no surprise to anyone here, Delta Airlines is the only airline that has nonstop flights to San Antonio twice a day. At that time, twice a day. I figured put them on the morning flight. So I put in a public records request I looked up which gate flight would have taken off from. And I put in a public records request and said, I need the security camera footage for this gate, the gate on either side of it. I thought they were probably driving in from vans from outside. So I asked for the gates, the two main gates that they would drive through outside of the airport too. And the area outside on the ramp where the airplanes were loading. My thought was they probably drove them in a van. They'd walk them up the steps, and we'd just catch a glimpse of a kid getting onto the flight. That's what I was expecting to see. And then we got that records request back finally, and it showed footage I imagine many people have seen where Liam and his dad were walked in through the airport just like you or I would be if we were getting on that flight to San Antonio. They had tickets. So it was Liam and his dad and 3 handlers. Now I think they were probably federal agents based on how they were checking in. They were presenting some sort of a credential at the ticket gate or right at the gate. But anyway, they came through, and yes, Liam, he's wearing his the same black and white checkered jacket that you saw in the picture. Dad's got the Spider-Man backpack, and that's the first footage that ever revealed how ICE moves kids on these commercial flights.
And my thought here, support independent journalism. That's my thought.
Yeah.
This is why independent journalism matters.
Yes, and we tried. So I had that. So I'm sitting on that footage, and we reached out to a national publication because this is big news, and the publication that we were trying to get the story to, we're like, well, we don't know if this was just a one-off thing. We don't know if it's a pattern or.
Well, I don't know.
And so anyway, I know. So anyway, it became apparent very quickly that they were just going to sit on that story and not do anything with it. So I reached out to an independent journalist, Gillian Brockel, who is the best in the business covering ICE Air flights. And she broke the story that led to a 15-minute segment on Rachel Maddow talking about all of this. And it got the word out that Delta is complicit in what happened with Metro, with flying kids to ICE camps. So
Just unreal. Thank you for your work. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I want to be mindful of our time here and get to our next guest, Andrew Mercado. He's just been, to me, he is one of the best street level journalists in America right now. I'm so excited. And he's one of your guys here. He's one of your hometown heroes. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to know besides supporting independent journalism? And how can we do that with you?
If you would like to help, I do all this work through Minnesota 5051, mn50501.org. Click the big donate button to help pay for our parking fees at the airport. I'd appreciate that. Because if you've all parked at the airport, it's not cheap being up there, so they cover our parking fees, so that's good. And yes, I could go on and on. I know we have to be mindful of time. I would like to quickly add that a coalition of labor, faith, and community leaders asked our Metropolitan Airport Commission a few months ago to put a pause on funding for a new Delta lounge that was going to get built at the airport because we wanted a meeting with Delta Airlines to discuss their corporate accountability. They passed the funding unanimously without discussion. This is a commission that's made up of people that were appointed by Tim Walls and Mark Dayton. So to continue the theme of not being particularly happy with our DFL leadership and their appointees here, they lectured us because we were up there creating a sense of disunity at the airport commission meetings, which of course, no one wants disunity at a public meeting. That would be terrible.
Heaven forbid, use our voices.
Yeah, so we asked for a meeting with a $50 billion airline, and they lectured the people who were there speaking for children with no voice. So, yeah, and then that was the same month that Governor Walz's press secretary left for a new opportunity. Do you know where she took the opportunity?
Delta.
Why, yes, she's the lead of corporate communications for Delta Airlines now.
I was joking.
You can't make it up. So anyway, yes. So I know everyone, I imagine we have many proud DFLers here. I am a DFLer myself. We are not immune to problems, and we need helpful, constructive criticism when bullshit like that happens. It should be called out. That's all I have to say.
That's all he had to say. I love it. Mic drop, Nick Benson. Thank you, Nick Benson. Thank you for taking time. And what my take, wow, what a way to end that conversation. All I think of and what's on my mind is they want us to hold the powerful accountable until the powerful are them. Right? And that's our job as journalists, is to hold the powerful accountable until they're them. Please don't come after me. I'm Tim Walz. Please don't come after me. I'm a Democrat, right? No, I have to be rigorously honest here. And that's the approach that we're taking at NVN. This platform here is transparent. It's rigorously honest. And we think we're doing damn good journalism until we look up on Mercado Media's page and see what he's doing. And then I say, shit, okay, this guy's out there. He's in it. He's in the mix. He's in the trenches. Welcome to our next guest here, Andrew Mercado, CEO of Mercado Media. Thank you so much, man. I meant that. You are literally one of the best in the business right now at the street level. How are you doing? And how are you doing?
A lot of weed, and then the support of the community, honestly.
Yeah. What got you into journalism, and what do you think your role is now?
What got me into journalism was seeing George Floyd murdered on Facebook Live back in 2020. And I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what to do. And I saw that there were protests down on 38th in Chicago. And I'm like, well, I've never been to a protest before, ever in my life. So I'm going to go down there. So I went down there, and my friends told me to go live on Facebook.
You've never done any sort of social media kind of?
Nope.
Wow.
So I went live on Facebook down there just to show, like, okay, this was happening. Okay, I'm getting ready to leave. But then people were like, you should go over to the 3rd precinct and go see what's going on over there. I went over there and saw what was going on. And then that went viral multiple nights in a row and stayed with it. But then, I didn't just cover the riots. I stayed with the protests because I felt like there was a further message. I felt like the true message was not with the riots. It was actually with the community afterwards and the people that were protesting and that had signs and then the community leaders and the activists. So I wanted to make sure that their voices were heard too. Oh boy, I got in trouble for that from my own following, because they had watched for the riots. Like, they were tuned in, like they had shaped their message of like what the protest was.
And see, I'm thinking in my mind, this is why you're so successful, because it's not just covering the blood and guts or the gore, right? It's literally telling the people stories and telling the prevailing wisdom of what's going on, but you got pushback.
Yeah, I got pushback because also, like my own upbringing was far different. Like, that's why I'd never been to a protest before. My perspective on life has changed significantly over the past 7 years. So, and I was relaying that. Like, I was being honest. Like, this is what I didn't even have to talk. I was just filming and streaming what, Nekima Levy Armstrong has been doing for so long and other amazing activists. And just by being honest and giving others a voice, like, I got a lot of hate for that. And like from the very people that, you know, I would listen to, or I would, or family or friends that knew me, they started to call me all types of names, call me a leftist or like a George Soros paid actor and all types of things, you know? And so that really maybe helped radicalize me into like, okay, I'm clearly doing something right. Like, because, you know, because people really do appreciate the work that I'm doing. But I felt like, you know, the more that I've done this, I make the right people mad.
Yeah, amen. And they say if you're a journalist and want to be liked, get a dog, right? Yeah, I don't have a dog. I've got a great wife. What is your support system like now? And what's the reality for, because you just exploded and you're a go-to resource for people like me. The mainstream is clearly watching your stuff. They watch all our stuff and they try to recreate it. What role do you think you play now?
The same that I have, I believe, you know, providing honest journalism on the ground in the.
I guess what do you think the role is of a journalist today? Because the media landscape has changed. Here I am, a 19-year veteran of CNN, doing what you do now. And so you've seen that because you were a pioneer of it.
Transparency, you know, community building, being around the community, welcoming others within it, you know, being on the ground, being there with people. I feel like, you know, oftentimes you've seen the media and people are in like a newsroom or they're in like a studio.
Weatherproof glass.
Right, yeah. Or like when they send a correspondent down there for a few minutes and then, or they film some B-roll and then they're out. Whereas like, you know, independent journalists now, like myself, or the great King Demetrius, who's been around this community even longer than I have, you know, or Georgia Ford, you know, or Unicorn.
Shout out to Georgia Ford.
Yeah.
She's promoted this event on her platform, on a radio station. She would have loved to have been here. She is just exceptionally busy. But yeah, I mean, they're great independent journalists who are really leading the way, and you're in that mix.
For sure, and that's what the difference is people that are on the ground getting the story and staying there. Like these independent journalists, myself included, we're out there for 10 hours at least.
Yeah.
You know, we're out there all day long and like not leaving until the story's done for the day.
And you're not just here in Minnesota as much as your coverage is relied upon. I mentioned for the first time in person, I've been following your stuff, but we met for the first time in person at Delaney Hall. I have so many questions about how you see the evolution of this, how you see it compared to what you saw in Metro Surge. What stood out to you and what would you like to talk about in terms of Delaney Hall versus Metro Surge?
Well, it was honestly like a buildup because last year I started covering the ICE raids back in Los Angeles. I didn't make it there personally, but at home I stream and I will tell people what's going on in other places. And that turned into me going to Chicago because then I did have the independent journalism funds to get there. And so
That was brought.
yeah, brought. Yep. So this was all in 2025. So Chicago, LA, Portland, Oregon too. There wasn't like mass deportation efforts like we saw, but
The resistance is strong.
and then Trump also said it was like World War II out there, you know, so I just wanted to go out there and see what it looked like. And then also other places that I didn't make it. But actually, you know, it was mentioned earlier, Nick Shirley's propaganda back in December, Operation Metro Surge actually started before he put out that video. It started December.
Thanks for the clarification.
For sure. It started December 3rd. So we started December 3rd and there were plenty of people outside of the Whipple building alerting like, hey, there's going to be a search. We're seeing vehicles come in on the semi trucks. Like there's going to be something happening. Christmas break came up and that's when I finally took a break. And I went to my aunt's house and I'm sitting there tweeting at Nick Shirley, like, no, you're lying about all this stuff already came out. You know, this is back in December. And then that video was what caused, like, I guess the justification for people to be okay with the, you know what I mean? Like, it laid down propaganda. It was a propaganda piece to justify this surge that was going to happen.
And they are master manipulators of the media. President Trump, I call him the WWE president. He is so good at controlling the optics of a room and the optics of a crowd. But thank you very much for that clarification. I was under the impression that Shirley's video so the surge came after the Shirley videos, but in your words, was used as the fuel for the propaganda.
Absolutely. It was used to fuel it. And so that way people could that are already in that right wing camp, I would say, or in that Nick Shirley, they'll like say, okay, this is why that the raids are happening.
Even why they're necessary.
Right. Even though it was already going to happen. And not to mention, Kristi Noem was already on ground back in, I think, March of 2025. Back on Lake Street. And then there was also an attempted ICE raid in St. Paul, and with the St. Paul Police Department working alongside ICE back in, I believe, September. I could be November. Thank you, Nekima.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think Minnesota was singled out? I mean, we heard a theory earlier, potentially, hey, you got a vice president running Tim Walz, we're going to single him out. I've heard others at the Embers, if George Floyd was still here, they just sort of picked that. You have this being a progressive place, the land of Wellstone. When I moved here in 2004, there was a strong progressive movement here. Why do you think Minnesota was singled out?
I think it's all that combined. I think it's the fact that Minnesota is a blue state, politically. I feel like, yeah, Tim Walz did run as the vice president. This is a very strong, not just like Democrat, but progressive state, and people looking out for their community. I vividly remember it because back in 2020, I had those trolls on my streams, and they felt like a type of way that, the protests, I guess, were popular or whatever, I guess, and people like saw that as like a popular thing to protest back in 2020. So this is kind of like their revenge tour. Like this is their revenge for, oh, you got to protest back in 2020 and Trump lost or whatever in their brain. So it's kind of like payback for all that from when Trump lost the first in 2020.
Payback for George Floyd.
Payback for all that. And then also, like you had mentioned, blue state, progressive state. So and then we can get to it because I think you're going to when it comes to Democrats. But we're seeing that in many blue states. Like Trump is specifically targeting blue states that are ran heavily by Democrats, and we're not really seeing a whole lot of support by that leadership.
That tees me up for Delaney Hall.
Yep.
Because when I was there on May 27th and May 28th, 29th, I was there on the side because honestly, man, after I went through what I've been through here, man, I wanted to get back with my kids and without really, maybe some people call me a bitch, some people single me out, whatever. I don't care. I hate it home. I was thinking about my 8-year-old and 5-year-old, but then I see you and I see others literally get shot at. My footage showed a flank position from DHS agents and other immigration feds that literally and deliberately opened fire on you guys without care what you were doing. It included members of the press. You talked a little bit about the escalation, the retribution tour here. What did you see in Delaney Hall that really rattled you? Because I know it did.
I saw all three sides of like the corporation, the state government, and the federal government work together to crush the First Amendment. All three of them at the exact same time worked together to stop people. Okay, so we got there and you got ICE agents brutalizing protesters in the way that we know. They also had clubs out there this time and also a taser. So this is happening and they're shoving protesters into oncoming traffic. There was already a week of like, this is the protest environment. There's oncoming traffic. So they had marshals out there to make sure that, hey, people were safe and traffic could flow. And this was working. And the protest was going on. And then that weekend came. And as it was going, the day was like, chill.
Yeah,
honestly,
they were singing songs.
Yeah,
Really
between the federal government and the protest, and I feel like now it's because there was a deal made, but that very day, the state police come out and try to establish protest zones, and they have like gates they're setting up, and now this is obviously making the protest crowd mad because they're like, what the hell is a protest zone?
Among the protesters are combat military veterans, and you're not going to tell them where they can voice their First Amendment rights.
Right.
They put a little First Amendment zone just off the entrance of Delaney Hall.
Yeah, and then they had a separate one for the next day, which was going to have like a pro-Trump, a pro-ICE thing, Trudchella, in New Jersey. So they had those two zones set up, and that really made the crowd mad. But then, as the day goes on and the night goes on, even though those protest zones were built, the day still kind of chilled out, and people were sitting down on the road, blowing bubbles, and like the feds are mad, whatever. But there was nothing happening until the state police then came out and declared an unlawful assembly out of nowhere. Like all right, unlawful assembly. No, first they cleared out the mutual aid area and told them they had to leave and clear out the tent and clear out because they have something very similar to like a Haven Watch there in New Jersey, to where there's people that will then help those that are detained and give them resources or whatever they need, like or food right there because of the conditions inside. And the state police came out right away and just gave people 10 minutes and then cleared it out, used the full weight of the state. They had horses out there. They had the tear gas, the flashbangs, everything you can think of, which is wild to me because even though, and it's so twisted, but the ICE agents weren't doing that. They were just using their batons and other means. But MAGA on social media was crying for the ICE agents to use more munitions, right? So then you have the Democratic governor send her police force out there to give MAGA exactly what they want.
And this police force, the irony is that they were sent out there to protect the protesters and for their benefit.
No.
Yet what I saw exactly from a different vantage point and perspective from where Andrew was, is I saw the first tear gas and munition deployed was from the state police. I reached out to the ACLU of New Jersey because the narrative, shocking, that we heard from law enforcement is not the one that journalists like Andrew and myself saw on the ground. That concerns me, and I want to get to this because I know you have some feelings. That concerns me because it's not going to end with President Trump. The militarization of our police, which I saw firsthand in Ferguson back in 2015, and I've covered so many cases. And now to this point, you got an LRAD coming out in Minneapolis. You've got mounted police in LA, in New Jersey, and these are places run, maybe Cheryl, by Democrats, by a Democrat.
And they have a Democratic trifecta in New Jersey too. The Democratic governor, Democratic Congress, all of it is ran by the Democratic Party. So, and that's what I continue to tell people. You know, there is a fight against Trump for sure, and I understand that. But there's also a greater fight too against the system of policing and brutality. But when I'm seeing this from the state and from various states, whether it be California, Minnesota, Illinois, and New Jersey, you know, it reminds me of 2020. I'm like, oh, it's back. Like, oh, I guess it was just a pause because that same violence that we're seeing against the protesters was 2020, like every day. You know, every single day was like what we experienced in Delaney Hall. It's just been paused, I think, for a little bit, I guess, because I guess I agree that Trump's ICE thugs, you know, are giving money, and that's the other factor of this. So if you guys don't know about Delaney Hall, there is an ongoing hunger strike outside of there due to the conditions inside the building. The building is privately funded and also funded by taxpayers because the federal government gave them contracts, but it's owned by Geo Group, which is out of Florida. They made $2.5 billion last year. They made $2.5 billion for this concentration camp called Delaney Hall. They're going to make $3 billion this year. It's a privately funded prison, privately funded concentration camp. So not only is it making money, but then we are funding it as well through our federal tax dollars because the federal government made a contract with them. So the conditions inside are abhorrent, as many of you know from the Whipple building. It's the same thing throughout the whole country. Not a single one of these places are good, right? Or whatever. And so that's why people are inside protesting with a hunger strike, and then people outside are supporting that protest and standing in solidarity with it. And so that was what's going on. And then just to see the state police, the federal government, and then also the security of Geo Group as well had pepper ball guns and had less than lethal munitions hitting protesters too. It truly was from like every side of it.
And you're seeing tensions at a boiling point. I think we're getting to a point where I'd love to have the rest of the guests come up here and for us to open it up to the audience here for some Q&As. But before we do that, just give a big round of applause to Andrew Mercado. I want to keep him up here. He stays up here on the stage. Nekima, Nick, Ahmed, if you're still here, if you guys want to come up, we'd love to take some questions from the audience here. And if you guys have any questions for us and any things that we didn't talk about, or maybe anything that you guys want to, that's on your mind. What time is it, by the way, guys? Where are we at?
About 8:45.
8:45. Okay, let's take
Maybe
15.
8:50.
Okay, let's take 10 minutes of questions from the audience. And are we good with?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Or I could stand up. Shit, I'll stand up and you sit down over here.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Please. And that way I can pass the microphone back here to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question? We'll start back here. We'll go front. If you just state who you are, introduce yourself very quickly.
I'm Braxton Hughes. I also do some independent media work.
I've heard of you.
And, thank you. And so one of the things that kind of struck me from when you were talking to Nekima, because I was also at the church, and at the same time, I was working with a group of indigenous activists who had set up a prayer camp at Coles.
It don't get no worse than this.
And forth between these two groups. And it just really struck me about what is sacred, because it struck them. They're in a sacred space that they consider sacred, and they're being pushed out by the governments. And meanwhile, in a church, that same government is acting to protect another sacred space. So I just that struck me during that whole thing. So I was trying to open it up to people and talk about what's sacred and why do churches get to be sacred.
Yeah, what is sacred these days? What do you think?
Chapel.
Is anything off limits? If it's not off limits to ICE, it should be off limits to
Like a park.
can I make a park sacred? Because that's where I feel the closest to what I believe in. So can I say no protests in the park?
Well, I think we have to, my mic on?
Use this one.
Thank you. I think one thing that we have to remember is the fact that this has nothing to do with which spaces are sacred and which aren't. This is about the Trump administration weaponizing the full force and power of the federal government against Trump's political enemies and also against protesters. So we have to push back against those false narratives because they don't have any real sense of what is sacred and what is not. They have violated those principles in so many ways since the start of this administration.
Yeah, they've done away with the Sensitive Locations Act. You can now go into schools. We've seen ICE circling the parking lot at a polling location in California. You have a question here?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank all four of you. You've been an inspiration to all of us. I know Tony has faced in the crowd, but he has been standing behind you for quite a while, so continue on. My question is more towards Mercado. I can't say.
It's okay, Mercado.
Yeah.
I've seen you in Delaney and I've seen you in Minnesota. Is there anything from us protesters that you would like maybe us to do or not do, or that we can do to support you more?
I think I'm okay, personally. Because, I'm a guy with a camera, so, I'm gonna have people that tune in and I'm able to community build. I think the more support amongst the community in terms of activism and people that need mutual aid or support, court support showing up out there would be beneficial. But, me personally, I'm probably good, I just get to the story, but I'd rather support people that are on the front lines, putting their bodies on the line.
But I think having people share your streams and watch your streams and get the word out is one way
Yes.
of supporting Andrew. And then even though he doesn't request support, it costs money to travel around the country to cover these protests. So if you have a link, you should post it so that people know how to financially support you as well. And then the mother in me is thinking sometimes he probably needs a home cooked meal. But I'll let him answer.
No, I wouldn't tell him to turn that down.
Independent journalists like Andrew Mercado are carrying water for the country right now, along with U.S. District Court judges, right? So literally, Power Media, if you guys haven't followed him already on YouTube, we've got a question right here, and then I'll get to the gratitude over there in the corner. This is a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for showing up.
Hi, I'm Carrie. People are scared. What do you guys have to say about people who are really scared after last Tuesday with the indictment that came down? I'm getting calls about, I delivered groceries to my neighbors. Do I need to retain a lawyer? What do you guys have to say?
Thank you, Karen.
I think that people have a good reason to be afraid because this federal government has no limits to what they will do to weaponize their power against the average ordinary citizen who fights back against fascism, who supports their neighbors and who shows up. If they will kill people in broad daylight and in cold blood, there's no telling what they will do. So yes, people have every reason and right to be afraid. And I think that one way of approaching it, obviously people can't change the past in terms of whatever role they may have participated in. But I would say going forward, people just have to decide how much risk they're able to excuse me, absorb, knowing that the federal government is cruel and vindictive and seeking to punish people. But for those who can't absorb risk, continue to show up, continue to stand up on the front lines and continue to fight. You cannot be intimidated, not all of us, right, by what they're doing. Otherwise, my ancestors would still be in chains if it weren't for people who were brave and courageous and who stood up and found ways to resist.
Yeah, they didn't change those vote laws, but somebody showed up and said, can you please give us the right to vote either? Can we please be seen as equals? No, you stand up and you fight, you use your voice. Yes, here.
First of all, I want to thank all four of you and for everybody who's here. I'm very courageous. As a Somali American, I faced fear. As a young woman faces fear, we're trying to support the immigrant population
that is a part of the fabric of this community that, it's beginning to, that has become a part of. I want to start by saying thank you, because I know the majority of you are and appreciate it. And I know one of the most beautiful things that I picked up from this ugly event that had happened is the beauty and the love and the amazing character and love that all this family has. No matter as a Somali American who's been here 27 years as an American citizen, I had fear. I didn't come out of my basement. I grew up here, went to school here, learned here, worked here, but I was dehumanized. I continue to be dehumanized. I continue to be dehumanized by the government that wants to make me feel like I'm the person who doesn't deserve to be here, although I'm doing everything right. And so I honestly want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you guys do. And a lot of us want to say that, but we don't have the spaces just to come on. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that we want to convince people up here is that they're all using their own privileges, whatever privileges they come with, and they're using those privileges to step up and to meet the moment, because again, there's a moment to meet. Thank you guys for wanting to be so engaged. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you for speaking to us. So my question is, I feel like a lot of you were talking about how this is much bigger than like the current struggle going on right now. Like all these struggles are connected. And I know like my work is in the child protection system, which many people refer to as the family policing system because that's exactly what it is for many families. And I think like that really resonates to me. And I was wondering what your advice is on getting people involved in the struggle as a whole against the system. And like getting people involved across all fronts so that we can, because I believe that that's what we need, is we need to take the system on as a whole, and just advice on how to make that all happen.
You got this.
How do you fight the systemic issues facing us today?
So, just to get your question correct, you said, how do we proceed forward to support activists of our kind? Is that what you said?
Just a collective effort, I think, right? As a whole is what you're talking about. How do we have more people involved? Yeah, if you want to clarify it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's natural to have certain things that you gravitate towards and there's certain struggles that you like really put in the effort for. But I think sometimes in that we can get cordoned off and have things where there's not support across the board and there's not this recognition that like it really is these big systemic things that are caused by racism, colonialism that affect us in so many different ways, and how to, bring that all together, I guess.
I mean, oppression is what unites all the activities that are happening. Weaponized federal agencies. The United Kingdom had weaponized military systems. They used to have colonies, hence colonization. This is not their own colony. They had colonies in Africa. 1884, they partitioned and divided Africa so that they can systemically oppress Black people of the African continent. So oppression is best dealt with through education, because you have to educate both parties. You have to educate the oppressed that at some point they are an accomplice to the oppression by staying silent and letting the fear win. So they have to speak up, or they have to support those that are speaking up and raising awareness about that particular oppression. And then the other education that's necessary is the leadership, the political class, the elite class. They need to be educated as far as the people they're leading and the sensitivities that these people come with. For example, I'm Muslim. If you detain me and capture me and put me in a place where I'm not physically able to perform my prayer, and it does require physical activity to perform the Islamic prayer 5 times a day, then you have oppressed me, and to fight you, I have to completely refuse everything that you have provided me, including the jail. Say, I will let you administer the oppression to me without me being an accomplice. One of the best movies that brings this to life is Hurricane Carter. The star is Denzel Washington. you guys should watch that movie because it shows you the resilience of the human spirit when it's dealing with weaponized DOJs and federal agencies. So nothing is new under the sun, you know. Colonization was oppression of human beings. It doesn't matter if it's black people or people of color. America was colonized and oppressed by the United Kingdom. Hence July 4th, Independence Day, right? So to take the point home, you cannot be oppressed totally if you're not an accomplice to that oppression. So support the people like us. Do not support the organizations that tend to say they're supporting immigrants or black people get justice. No. Support organizations that you know you have to engage yourself too. Do not be blinded by people that honor somebody, some of us give us awards, and on the other hand, end up funding or aiding and supporting the oppressor. Don't do that. Take the initiative to know who is this that I'm supporting. If you're gonna support me, get to know me. Don't just honor me without knowing my backstory. It's not fair and it's not genuine, and I don't want to.
I would really love to hear from Nekima on this as well, because it is trying to bridge the gap. We talked a little bit about the same people that showed up in 2020 for George Floyd are not some of the same people that are wanting to be seen as allies, or you can see themselves in this struggle. And yet, as we just heard from Ahmed, it is a line. It is a human struggle. How do you bridge that gap and sort of start to build a connective tissue among coalitions of activists?
Well, I would say that I've been on the front lines long enough to know that there's always ebbs and flows, right? So not everybody is going to come out and join a fight, even if you want them to. You think about Dr. King and the civil rights movement and how we look to that movement as a powerful example of resistance and fighting for our rights. But at the same time, it was still only a fraction of American citizens who participated in the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. When you think about the 1963 March on Washington, the population of attendees was about 150,000 to 175,000. This is in a nation of millions. So everybody who says that they supported the civil rights movement really didn't. And when Dr. King was assassinated, he was considered the most hated man in America.
Man, so for those people out there that are celebrating Dr. King's birthday, I think, would you be this vocal and would you be this geeked up if you lived during the era? It is so easy to say Dr. King's name now and celebrate.
Right, now that he's been assassinated and he's no longer a threat, to the way this country functions, of course, people want to show their solidarity with him, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth of how they really felt. And so if we look at what's happening right now, if you want to know how you would have acted during the civil rights movement, look at how you're responding today.
Wow.
And whether you're showing up and speaking up and standing up or thinking that it's someone else's responsibility. I love this quote by Margaret Mead that says, "Never underestimate the power of a small group of people to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." So that's how I look at it. Look, we put the call out. If you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. But we're going to move forward with whomever shows up. It could be 10 people. It could be 10,000 people. But the mission remains the same.
10 toes in.
Absolutely.
We'll have one more question, and then we'll stay open, I think, for 1, 2, and then we'll go from there. Thank you guys for hanging with us. I really appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm also an independent journalist. I cover a lot of Muslim American communities. So my question is for Brother Ahmed. I want to know how your community reacted to you going viral and everything that's happened. And I know from covering Muslim communities for over a decade that when your video went viral, there was so much chatter in the Muslim American community. So I just wanted to know how your reaction to that, because we're facing a double whammy here, right? Islamophobia and racism and everything else. And then the second question is, I would love to tell folks how to support you. So yeah, both of those things.
So, business first, right? I'm just playing. So the way our community, my community reacted, the Somalis, the way they reacted was on a local level. The fear just did not stay within the boundaries of Minnesota. It went far beyond Iowa, far beyond Texas, far beyond Canada. It went all the way to Africa and all the way to Somalia. The people were unified for a moment because we had a common enemy. We had the colonizer harassing our people abroad. It doesn't matter the legitimacy of this individual. He's still a human being and he has God-given rights. So those God-given rights have obviously been taken from my community. And they have been taken from me based on what those federal agents wanted to do, profile me, make fun of me. That's why they dumbed down their conversation with me. Because I guarantee they would be in jail for lack of communication skills. These people are all they can't talk. Right? I don't know where they get it from. All of that. So the issue that we have as a community is, first of all, we are Black, and then we tend to be 99.9% Muslims. So the Muslims, when America goes to war with Iran, Muslims are attacked. So Somalis are also included because they're Muslims. When immigration policies are enforced, Somalis are attacked. When money goes missing, Somalis have a new form of fraud that they invented. It's called Somali fraud. How come we've never heard of white people fraud? Have we ever? I know it's come on, somebody. The White House should be called maximum madness penitentiary because the guy is mad. He's insane and he's carrying out the acts of an insane man because they're oppressive, obviously. They're not sound. So my people, as far as Somalis, there's a lot of fear. The way they welcome me was on an individual one-on-one basis when there's nobody watching. I swear to God, they appreciate me and they thank me for the job I did. But when there's more people now, obviously they want to fit in socially. So they pick a pose where they say, you brought us unwanted attention. You could have just complied. That brings me back to Moses defending a person that was getting oppressed by a soldier from the Pharaoh's side. So Moses was trying to defend the man that was getting beat up, the slave. So Moses somehow was physically endowed and ended up killing the man who just punched him, or him to death. So now the guy that is alive see what occurred. Moses committed a crime and a sin by defending an oppressed man. But the oppressed man behaved funny the next time Moses came to his aid and he was getting oppressed. Guess what the oppressed man said? So you want to kill this guy too, the way you killed the other guy? But he forgot, he killed the other guy trying to save him. You follow me? So that's almost similar to the energy that I'm receiving from my people because they're like, well, you just wait when you gave me some attention. But nobody gave me nothing. People just discovered me. And I'll continue to be me because I've been me before I got discovered.
One more question here.
If you go to my Facebook page, Ahmed Bin Hassan, there's a link there, a link tree, go fund me, drop whatever you can, because I don't intend to use it just for me. I have structures, businesses set up in place that I aim to educate and empower the oppressed. So I was aiming that the people that will give me awards or will come and meet me that are part of the elite, they would help me fulfill these causes, But that's not what happened. Somehow they want to turn me into a celebrity and really not support my cause. I'm not interested in that. I'm almost 40. I didn't want it to be an actor. I would have been a very good one. Trust me. Trust me on that. I would have put every energy. I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be a celebrity. What I need to do is use whatever God gave me, this little attention span, to support a cause, to help somebody feel better, live better, be himself, If that's taken away from you, then what else do you have? So don't be in fear thinking you will lose something because once you're in fear, you are almost susceptible to lose yourself. Yeah. It's just comply and comply and comply and then be transformed to some sort of some unrecognizable being. So just hold on to yourself and what's true to you.
We'll do one more question and then we'll wrap up the show, guys.
Asante sana Bwana
Asante, my friend. Na usiambia wazungu na Kiswahili. That's what it is.
This is a OC flash grenade. This was shot at my feet last week. Well, one of these was shot at my feet on January 14th outside of Whipple. For no reason other than we were 1 foot into the road, confronting Zach X and Jaden Scott and Gregor, who were there to agitate us. So we were in the road apparently, and this had to be shot at my feet. The ice like shattered, it ripped my coat. But these were shot at us also by Hennepin County sheriffs. So what are we doing to hold Sheriff Witt accountable, our leaders, for collaborating, clearly collaborating with ICE? March 1st, we had Hennepin County sheriffs lined up in full military gear. They just happened to be there in full military gear. At one end, there's a protest going on where they just beat the living tar out of protesters. And we saw that same sheriff that beat up slammed the woman's head into the ground there at Whipple 2 weeks later. Like, how is he out of, like, not on suspension at least? So that day, they had snipers on the roof. I was in a sniper scope on a collaborated effort between Duana Witt, Sheriff Witt, and Tom Holman. I will never forgive her for that day, and I knocked on 20,000 doors for the DFL in 2022, including her hundreds of doors for her. How are we holding these leaders accountable for like letting all this happen because none of us have faith in our DFL anymore? How do we turn that around?
I got that. So, I want to put one thing. So you said how? So you need to do what? Ask your legal reps why. Why are you not supporting the activists? Why are you not speaking up for the people that are getting arrested for standing up for their rights? Ask them why. We know how. There's weaponized federal agents. Why are you not? Why is Tim Walz not making it a priority to speak about the activists? How are federal agents having that much access to us? You know, if they go through us, it's a done deal because they'll pick you guys one by one as they want. But we are willing to sacrifice our being, our existence on this earth to fight for ourselves and you guys. So I'm just saying, just be real, show your support, and do not be duped by these ORGs, you know? Because slavery in Africa, colonization in Africa would have never occurred without the accomplice or the aid of the missionaries. The missionaries are the ones who collaborated with King Leopold of Belgium in the Congo to tell them how the roads are, where the villages are. So just know, just because it's a church or a mosque, don't mean it's righteous.
As I mentioned,
For governor.
No politics for me today.
as I mentioned earlier, there is a real problem within our Democratic leadership. And there are plenty of people who should not be in office. Amy Klobuchar is a clear example, right? So the same energy we have for Sheriff Witt, who I'm not voting for, we need to have for Amy Klobuchar, who I'm not voting for either, right? And I'm not telling you guys that because obviously, you know, we don't want anyone from the GOP to win. But inside of the party, we need to have higher standards for our leaders. And we need to try to cultivate the leadership of others who can run against them instead of just rubber stamping what the DFL leadership says. That hasn't gotten us anywhere. It's been part of the problem, and that's why we felt so abandoned during Operation Metro Surge. So if they gotta go, they gotta go. And the DFL leadership needs to figure out what that looks like as a result of the pressure from the DFL members who will hold them accountable. That's the only way that change is going to happen, from the inside, right? We can apply pressure from the outside, but those who show up to the conventions, those who door knock, those who contribute to campaigns need to be the ones speaking up, calling out these leaders and saying, you have not earned our vote, so you're not gonna get it, and let the chips fall where they may. So that's what I would recommend.
We'll go to Andrew and we'll have Nick close it out and I'll say some last words.
I just want to say one last thing. I want to acknowledge the members of the Righteous 39
Yes.
who are here in the audience today. If you're part of the Righteous 39, please stand up. We're still facing federal charges. These folks are so courageous and they're holding it down for all of us. So kudos to all of you and thank you for being here tonight.
Wow.
And let's continue to stand with the Righteous 39, but with the hundreds of people who are still facing state and federal charges for standing up for us.
Wow.
They deserve to be supported. So when there's calls for court support, show up. When there are rallies, show up. When you see their stories on social media, read them and then share them, because we're still all in this together.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then, wow.
Other thing I was gonna say is, don't be gaslit by other people because you want to hold power accountable. Because we do live in a two-party system in this country. There are other options to vote for, but really we only have those two options that will win. So don't be gaslight by, I feel like if you vote for the Democratic Party, don't let other people say, well, don't criticize my Democrats because that's just gonna let the Republicans win. Like you're playing a political game then, you know what I mean? Like you should be able to hold all power accountable, no matter left or right, it is. It needs to be held accountable, especially if those Democratic leaders are, amplifying protests or they're saying go out and
hours. They have to fly down to Louisiana now, so they will be there still. Think about them. They are our neighbors, and that's happening right now as we are speaking. ICE is still here, but so are we. We will not stop watching.
That's right.
I don't even know where to start and what to say. I'm going to push this back a little bit here. I want to start by just acknowledging the Maine cinema here. Thank you to the Maine for believing in this, for believing that something like this could be pulled off. We truly believe that the antidote and the remedy to what fascism wants, which is isolation, is bringing people together in a room for community. We know how many people are scared right now. That's real. When I was talking to Ahmed, Andrew, Nekima, Nick, that was something that we all discussed, and it wasn't even the rain. You guys are hardcore. We know that the weather's not going to keep you out, but the feds might. And so to each and every single one of you who took a chance on seeing what this was about, what the hell is this NVN thing live? Why are we having this discussion? Who is this guy coming from outside of the city to talk about the issues? Thank you for believing in me. And thank you to all of our volunteers. Thank you for staying last minute, the dropout. We had Will Kelly booked. He couldn't make it. Nekima, you were really quintessential to this. Thank you so much.
Andrew, I meant what I said. I mean, I'll give you flowers privately, but publicly it's way better. We criticize privately, right? But I don't got no criticism. And Ahmed, man, you really are a voice of a movement. You know, we've heard it. You're funny. You diffused a situation with your humor. And you really, you know, you grounded us here with the reality of what's going on. A big round of applause here to everybody who shared the stage with us. And for those of you guys watching at home, thank you. For those who are still watching, thank you everyone who's sharing, liking, subscribing. Keep doing it. That helps us with the algorithm, which is my publisher now. And the algorithm, they want us fighting, you know? It doesn't want us exchanging ideas. That's what I learned here, is that we could exchange ideas and we could move in good faith and we could really be rigorously honest and have a discussion that helps add value to everything. So thank you to the people of Minnesota, Maine Theater, Andrew Feedy, Courtney Feedy for the support and financing this venture, and to all of you guys here, thank you for watching Nick Valencia Live. This is a special report. Solo el pueblo salva al pueblo. Only the people will save each other, and tonight we tried. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Let's turn it around and show you guys the crowd here. I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. And the stream.